Hello friends, welcome to IT Job Pulse. Today is 22nd video and 21st video was about communication management across stakeholders, and we understood the waterfall methodology. In today's world, we will discover about Agile Scrum methodology and hybrid methodology. So let's get started. Part 2. Let's begin with Agile Scrum method, why it is special for this. Okay. In Agile Scrum, communication is continuous and lightweight. Definitely, it is continuous but not lightweight. And no matter which methodology you use, Agile Scrum, Waterfall, or hybrid, trust me, communication is always heavyweight, very, very much heavyweight. Okay. Now, daily stand-up, these are like ways of communication. In daily stand-up, what happens? What you did yesterday, what you will do today, and any impediments. So these are the three questions asked. Generally, it is for 15 minutes, but it can go more than that as well. Sprint planning. So if you are following my videos, you will understand this term very easily, but let's understand it in a summary, like high level. Sprint planning is nothing but align work with stakeholders. For example, we have 10 features to be developed. Then we will plan first feature to be developed in 2 weeks sprint. That's where we do the sprint planning. And once we do the planning, we follow the plan. And once the sprint is completed, that is, we we gathered requirements for that feature. Then we wrote epics, user stories, and after writing user stories, the developer has tested it. Developer has done the coding and the testing work is also done. And finally, it is ready for review, that is sprint review. So whatever we have developed in this 2 week sprint, we will show this to the business. Okay. And based on the feedback, we will move to the next sprint. But even before that, before we start a new sprint planning, what we do, sprint retrospective. So it basically says improve team communication, and it has three questions to be asked. That is, first one is what did we do well, what did not go well, and what better we can do in the next sprint. So this is how the communication happens, and these activities are repetitive, ongoing. Okay, it happens till the time the project is completed. Why did the Scrum Master bring a broom to the meeting? Okay, so the answer is because they wanted to sweep up impediments. So the major responsibility of a Scrum Master is to remove impediments. That's why the Scrum Master brought a broom in the meeting. Let's move to the next slide. That is documentation you need Agile Scrum. Product backlog, prioritize list of features and fixes in Jira. In a simple words, whatever features we want to develop and whatever we have developed, if there are any fixes needed, any issues, bugs, everything, in order to make this product complete, that is where we consider it as a product backlog. Sprint backlog, tasks for the current sprint, tracked daily. Same way, it has all the features or any fixes, same like product backlog, but applicable for a sprint backlog. Like, let's say for a particular sprint, first, let's say first sprint is going on. So what are the backlogs for that particular sprint in that context? Burndown chart, visual of a sprint progress. So burndown chart basically helps you to understand how we are doing it, and you understand the importance of chart, why we use it. Confluence pages, knowledge base and decisions, and just not about knowledge base and decisions, documentation, whatever documents we have, we save, or we also track actions, whatever deliverables are there, so we can manage that on Confluence. Definition of done, shared agreement on quality. That is nothing but the acceptance criteria. Okay. Even before definition of done, there is a definition of ready. That is, let's say you write a user story, it has to be complete. It should be ready to pick up for the development. That is what we call DOR, definition of ready. And once the developer picks it, um, and once it meets the acceptance criteria, like whatever the acceptance criteria is, and if that is tested, and if it meets the acceptance criteria, then that means definition of done is completed. Tool highlight Jira and Confluence instead of Excel and Word, but it is common practice. Even if you are using Agile Scrum, you'll find they are not using Jira and Confluence. Okay, so it is not a big deal. Agile joke. Why don't developers like Burndown charts? So any developers here, if they're watching, they can understand, they can relate it because it reminds them of their energy levels. So yeah, this is documentation, okay, for Agile. Step by step, what I did as a Scrum project manager. Okay. Step one, set up Jira and Confluence spaces for HSBC project, because we are talking about the HSBC project and this is a part two. If you're watching it, then you might get confused. So I recommend you to go back and watch the 21st video. If you want, I can drop a link of that video in the description. Step two, facilitate daily stand-up with IBM and HSBC team. Now, IBM has given some work like quality management test work is given to IBM. So we have to facilitate between the two companies and two teams probably. Step three, sprint reviews every 2 weeks with HSBC stakeholders. Why? Because we want to show what we have developed to the stakeholders. And when I say HSBC stakeholders, that means particularly the most important stakeholder are business stakeholders. Step 4, track progress using Burndown and velocity reports. Now, Burndown, we can track the progress of using Burndown and velocity reports. Velocity is nothing but it is a tool, like it shows us like how much work we have completed. So Burndown chart and velocity reports you can use to track the progress. Step 5, handle blockers immediately. Let's say, for example, UK data access issue. Golden rule, keep meeting short if it takes longer than 15 minutes. It's no longer a stand up, it's a sit down. So in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that it can be for 15 minutes or it can be more than that as well. Sometimes it can go for 1 hour as well. Yes, so it becomes sit down then stand up. Final tips for Agile Scrum communication. Now, let's understand few tips. Co-locate or use strong virtual tools, Zoom, Teams, Jira. Tools like some, mostly you will not find Zoom, but some companies can use still Zoom, okay? And then Teams and Jira, okay? Make backlog visible to everyone. That is really important. If you are not busy, if you are keeping it with you and if you're hiding it, then it's gonna burst very badly. So it is really important to show the sprint backlog, product backlogs to the stakeholders, business stakeholders, and the entire team basically to, because if you keep it to you, then how would we understand where to go and how to progress further? Focus on working software, not just reports. Reports, why we use reports? To make the software better, to make a working software. And I notice that more or often that people are more concerned about the reports, or I see the gap is people are focusing on other things which are not relevant to the working software. So that is where you need to understand that we all need to make sure that we focus on working software. Of course, I'm not denying the importance of reports. Encourage open conversation, not just documentation. Open conversation is really important, but often we see a lot of things around, like We often get confused about documentation, whether we use documentation in Agile Scrum or not. Definitely, documentation is important along with conversation. More or often, I see that open conversation is given more importance. So I will say documentation and open conversation are both are two sides of one coin. It cannot be just open conversation or it cannot be just the documentation. Adapt ceremonies to global time zones. Definitely, I have been working in um, global time zones, especially last 8 years. So we need to make sure that we adopt to the global time zones, like as per the availability of the team members. Agile wisdom. If the team stops talking, the project stops moving. Without communication, you cannot progress because let's say you have a question and if you don't ask the answer of that question, then the progress will get stuck, the project will get stuck. Okay. But that does not mean that too much of communication. So in a nutshell, everywhere balance approach is required, neutral approach is really required. Now we have understood waterfall, agile scrum. Now we will understand hybrid method, why we used it in banking. So I have spoken it about many times that mostly you will find the project companies are using hybrid, 70-80% hybrid and remaining, sorry, 70-80% waterfall and remaining agile scrum. That is what, because on the internet, on the posts, we see a lot of talks around using agile scrum. Agile is the best, scrum is the best, but in real world, it is hybrid. 100, like very rarely you'll find some project where you are following absolute pure agile scrum framework. So let's understand this. Banking projects often need strict compliance, that is why waterfall, and flexibility for evolving needs. So let's say planning, design, planning, design, development, testing, everything is planned. Okay. That is waterfall and we follow that plan. But in hybrid, we plan everything, but whenever it is required, there is a little bit of scope for flexibility. That is the meaning of a hybrid. So we are actually following the plan strictly. Okay, we are not changing it unless if there is a requirement for change. So we use hybrid waterfall for regularity and compliance deliverables. Okay. Agile Scrum for development and testing, as I mentioned, we plan everything wherever it is required. We will use Agile Scrum framework. Why did hybrid win an award? Because it could walk and run at the same time. Walk means here waterfall, run means sprint. Okay, it's a joke. Documentation you need hybrid. Communication plan, waterfall style, which we have already understood. Stakeholder register, formal. Okay. Sprint backlogs and burn down, agile style, right? You can add here product backlog in the third point. Combined status report, mix of progress plus compliance. MOMs plus Jira boards, snapshots. Okay. Tool mix, Excel plus Jira plus Confluence. Even if you are using Agile Scrum framework, there also you can see the tools. So tool is something like it is tools, it's something that does not decide the agile scrum framework. Okay, it is more or less about the approach which you follow. Hybrid humor. Okay, why did the backlog meet the Gantt chart? To plan a date that kept changing. So in the recent project I have noticed this, like we have made a Gantt chart, but it has changed drastically many times. So that is where the humor is coming from. Step by step, what I did as a hybrid PM. We understood as a waterfall PM, we understood as a Scrum PM, now as a hybrid PM. First, it is very common, build stakeholder registered and RACI waterfall. Step 2, created product backlog, agile. Step 3, so creating a backlog is not my responsibility, it is responsibility of a product owner, but I did this. But in the interview, you need to remember that creating a product, anything related to product backlog, it is the responsibility of a product owner. Shared bi-weekly sprint reviews plus monthly steering committee. Okay. Then step 4, maintained compliance reports for regulators. Step 5, balanced flexibility with control. So now flexibility is definitely important, but control is also important in order to make sure that time and budget management. Golden rules. Speak two languages, agile to teams, waterfall to executives or business stakeholders. Because this helps you to, you can actually take few pointers here and you can actually manage the conflict very well. Okay, just jokes apart, you need to make sure that you communicate really well wherever you are communicating. Final tips for hybrid communication. Pick what fits. Don't force full agile or full waterfall. Definitely. Ensure compliance docs don't slow down sprints. Yes. It is debatable. Okay. Compliance documentation, like in one of the projects currently, and I can say that compliance has become a biggest roadblocker. Okay, so it depends upon the situation, but we need to speed up, we need to plan, we need to adapt. Okay, use dashboards that combine agile metrics plus status reports. Yes, definitely. No matter what methodology you follow, you have to present status reports. Balance stakeholders' expectations smartly. Yes. Smartness does not mean that you fool. Smartness means that you achieve the target, you achieve the goals, okay, by using right approach and helping understand the stakeholders. Now, time for hybrid joke. What's a hybrid PM's favorite sport? A relay race, because they pass the baton, but still the sprint. So in hybrid, or like if you notice whatever methodology you follow, you are actually passing on the baton. Okay, like from the stakeholder it comes to project manager, from project manager to business analyst or a product owner, then it goes to the scrum team, then after development, finally it again goes to the business stakeholders or the business. So that is why it is called relay race. So this is what we wanted to cover in this video. I hope you have liked it. And if you have liked it, please like it. Please do comment if you have any feedback. And do not forget to share with your aspirant project manager friends. On that note, I will take a leave. Till then, take care. Catch you soon.